Hello, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Kris, and I am an inner work coach. And what I do here on this channel is really just help other women do their deeper inner work. And today's topic is no different, to be honest, because I have battled with anxiety my entire life, and I have recently overcome this in such a large way. And by recently, I mean just over the past 3 to 4 years. And I have done so much work, and I have had so many things revealed to me throughout this journey of my inner work and my journey with God, that all I'm doing here is trying to share what I have learned and what I know has worked for me regarding inner work and anxiety, or just personal development altogether. So when you see the title of this, please, it's not to trigger anyone. It's literally to share my own journey and battle with anxiety, and hopes that it will help someone else to overcome their battles that they're going through with anxiety, because I have tips to share. I have things that have worked for me in the past, and this is likely something that everyone has experienced at some point in their life. They have been anxious about something, they have worried, they have had full-blown panic attacks, they have had anxiety that turns into depression, things that could be avoided, right? If we had these larger discussions on emotional intelligence, emotional maturity, emotional resilience, that I'm just trying to bring awareness to, because it's so important. And of course, to focus on our journey in our walk with God, because He is the ultimate transformer. Okay. He will get you right in the most loving, gentle way possible. Okay. So I just wanted to caveat that, because this is going to be such a good episode. And I really do hope that you lock in and learn something from it, because again, anxiety is sneaky. It is something that we have all likely dealt with in some form or fashion. And we've probably all dealt with it from a stance of, we are worried about something happening within us or to ourselves. So when I put, anxiety is selfishness on this title or thumbnail, whatever I decide to do, in my opinion, it is. Because anxiety is something that you're worried about the outcome. You're worried about how you are going to go through something, your challenges, what's going to happen to you. It's just very self-driven. And by creating anxiety within yourself, it's likely because you haven't either dealt with something, addressed it, or you have dealt with it and now you're worried about the repercussions and the ramifications from your standpoint. Okay, so in my opinion, anxiety is a bit of a form of selfishness, and I will share my personal journey and my personal experiences with anxiety. But the reason also that I say that is because, again, very recently have I really delved into like what anxiety truly means, and I've heard a lot of content on it, but I don't think it resonated until I started working on my inner work, my emotional intelligence, my emotional resilience, to even know that it was such a problem for someone like me. What really snapped me out of it is a couple years ago, I was listening to another creator, Myron Golden. I love his content. If you don't know him, please go follow him. He's a biblical business coach. He helps people make millions by teaching principles from the Bible. But one thing he said almost verbatim in one of his episodes a couple years ago, when I thought about it, I wasn't thinking about my battle with anxiety and it looking like that. He was like, you don't have a depression problem, you have a gratitude problem. That was what he said almost verbatim. And when I thought about that, I was like, oh my goodness. He said, how can you even open your eyes? God gave you the gift of life for another day. Likely you have 2 legs that hit the ground and were able to walk to the bathroom. Not everybody has that. Not everybody got to wake up that morning. He said, you have a face to wash, teeth to brush likely. Like, how can you not be grateful? How can you have anxiety and depression by already having so many gifts given to you within minutes of you waking up? Like, just the fact of you waking up should tell you you are blessed. You are highly favored. You have a mission on this earth that you have not completed yet. Like, when we have these things happen within us, the anxiety or depression, I'm not saying that it's clearly not some cases where you can be clinically anxious or depressed. Absolutely. But a lot of us create these problems within ourselves that we could avoid, that we can choose not to give so much energy and so much attention to, and then also go through these cycles of worst case scenario and what if this happens and what if that happens. So I say that because anxiety is a battle. It's something that we're all going to have to go through, and likely we have had experiences or traumas that have happened to us that have manifested themselves in always thinking, what if worst case scenario happens? And I will tell you that being an oldest daughter raised in an African American household where I was really told, like, you have to work 10 times harder, if not more, to get half as much in life because I'm Black and I'm a woman and I'm also small. Like, I've been told it all, guys, not just by my parents, but by people that I've known in my life. One man told me, I already had 3 strikes against me. He said, you're small. Oh, no, what did he say? He said, you're Black, you're a woman, and oh, you're young. And I was like, okay. And that was at one of my previous jobs. He was my manager. My manager, guys. Imagine coming into the workforce and having that level of support. Okay. So yeah, this is not just like just my upbringing. Like, this is what the world thinks. Does it create anxiety? Absolutely. Can it be overcome? Absolutely. Okay. I remember that, but I no longer associate myself with those limitations that someone tried to place on me. I can do anything because I have God on my side, and I have enough emotional resilience and emotional intelligence to tell myself that I no longer show up for that, and I no longer resonate with that. That no longer is a problem just because you're projecting your insecurities onto me, because he was mad because I got promoted over him too. I didn't let that stop me at the moment. In fact, it fueled me in the worst ways. But now looking back on it, I'm like, somebody tries to project their limitations onto you. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it, sis, because it's going to be okay and it's all going to work itself out. So let me take a sip of water. So again, I wanted to share my own story with anxiety because I think it's going to be helpful for someone. And then I'm going to talk about some of the ways I have overcome my battle with anxiety. So about 6 years ago, I diagnosed myself as highly anxious, and I wanted medication for it because, America, it's so easy to diagnose yourself with something and then to just go to the doctor and say, I want a prescription for this. It's honestly too easy, guys. It's horrible, to be honest. But I had what I would consider a stressful job at the time. I was also a performer, right? Like I said in the beginning, I was trying to get people to like me, get people to promote me, get people to see my value, have them see how I contributed to this project and just all these deliverables and how I executed. I, again, was raised in a world and a household where I was told that I have to work 10 times harder for half as much. So I really did let that fuel me to say, okay, now I have to perform. Now I have to show. Now I have to get validated. And that created so much anxiety in me. And I had a boss who was great at the time. Like, she supported me in every way, but she was very demanding. Like, she just had a level of excellence about her that apparently I did meet because I was like her right-hand woman, but at what cost? Like, I was answering calls at 10, 11 o'clock at night. I was engaged to be married. Like, I had, friends, and I would have to stop what I was doing on the weekends, stop what I was doing at night. I would have to jump on calls. She had questions for me, and it was just very draining, and it created so much anxiety because I was always trying to please her. I was always trying to get to that next level. And again, it paid off, but at what cost? My mental health was suffering. My physical health was suffering. I wasn't working out as much. I wasn't eating right. I was mentally just drained. And honestly, it took a little bit of a toll on my relationship. Thankfully, me and my husband are totally good now because I have found a balance through my inner work and through my healing work with God. And I don't respond like that anymore. and I never will again. But at that time, I was constantly trying to impress her, constantly trying to get validated from other people at my job so they would give her a good report. I was constantly trying to please my parents and get to that next level and just prove myself to a bunch of people that I didn't need to prove myself to. So I was constantly trying to control. I was constantly focused on me. How was I contributing? How was I getting things done? Was I showing up and getting validated by people? It was very, very selfish. And I honestly, looking back, cannot even believe that I functioned like this my whole life and for so long. But it's not rare. It's not rare. We are all in our little bubble, our little sphere of influence. Our life is the most important thing to us. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when you let it control you from a standpoint of, this is now how I have to show up in order to get people to like me and accept me, then it's problematic because it creates so much anxiety, so much negativity, and you just cannot show up like that. So again, 6 years ago, I went to a doctor and I was like, I need something because I'm having panic attacks. I'm always nervous. I'm always on edge. I really just cannot not even feel like I can breathe. And they were like, oh, okay, we'll give you this medication called Buspirone. And I took it, guys. I took it for a year. But what this showed me is that I would take it almost every day because I was just addicted at that point. It did its job. It numbed me. It made me feel relaxed. It made me, still like perform, but not have all the anxious thoughts and nervousness that came up with it as I'm performing. So really it was a Band-Aid because we know anything that you have to take consecutively for long periods of time that does not benefit your health in some way is just a Band-Aid. So it wasn't doing anything for me deep down inwardly. It was just suppressing the things that I knew I would have to address one day that I just didn't want to address right then or didn't have time to address. And I understand people have medication for certain things. I don't personally agree with it. I think that a lot of things can be solved through working on yourself, creating that emotional intelligence and that emotional resilience that nobody teaches you growing up, that you have to learn on your own or, go to God with, or just hit rock bottom and just learn more about yourself, learn more about serving others. I really do feel like inner work could treat a lot of these misdiagnoses that are happening in the world today. Like I said, I had anxiety. I actually had a cousin who, was on ADHD medication pretty much her entire life. And then she got pregnant and she removed herself off of ADHD medication and she was fine. And she's like, I can't believe I used it for all those years. So my story is very similar because my anxiety medication, again, was controlling my life. I was addicted to it. I was using it almost every day. And then I got pregnant. And I was like, oh no, I can't take this because as we all know, when you get pregnant, you can't do anything. You can't take anything. You can't do anything. Like nobody's going to give you a prescription for just about anything. So, but me being silly, I was like, let me ask anyway. Maybe there's something they can give me. Sure enough, there was something that they said was safe. It did nothing, guys. Did nothing to squash my anxiety that I had been really needing, I thought, or wanting at the time. Likely it was a placebo, probably a sugar pill that, again, did nothing. But they know that if they give you something, you'll feel like it does something. It did nothing for me. Okay. So I said, forget it. I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to continue to try to work on myself. Mind you, that wasn't even the start of my inner work journey. That was about 5 years ago because my daughter is 5 now. But I had to learn all these hard lessons by digging deep, asking myself questions, reading books on personal development, going to God, hitting rock bottom. Okay, mind you, after my parents and I had a falling out. And then my mom got cancer. It was a whole thing, guys. I have just had so many experiences happen all at once that I'm like, I can't function like this anymore and still be okay. Like I can't put Band-Aids on things. And by me diving into journaling, praying, thinking, removing myself from toxicity, understanding how I work, how I function, and removing and breaking those negative thought patterns that are creeping in anytime I feel my anxiety rising, because that's usually what anxiety is, a repeated thought over and over and over, creating anxiety and buildup. Okay. I suffered from that my entire life, and I realized that that is not normal, nor is it healthy, yet so many of us do it. But I had a band aid put over it. I realized after getting pregnant that I didn't need the band aid, but I also didn't know how to address those feelings deep down. So again, going back to my what I heard a few years ago by Myron Golden, I was shocked. I was like, I am selfish. I have a gratitude problem. I don't even realize that waking up this morning, putting my feet on the ground, washing my face are all gifts and all luxuries that God has created for me in my life. It was really hard for me to hear, but it really did put my anxiety into perspective because I didn't have to show up like that anymore. It really freed me up and released me. And a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, practice gratitude. I'm so thankful for my health. I'm so thankful for my family. To be honest, I think that's not deep enough. I think you have to get nitty gritty, just like Myron did, and say, I opened my eyes this morning. I put my feet on the ground. What a blessing. I was able to walk because not everybody is able to walk. I have food in my refrigerator. Thank you, God. I can wash my face. I can brush my teeth. I have a toothbrush. Not everyone has these things. And I think a lot of times we take our gratitude and we just make it a practice or an exercise. We don't dive deep enough into realize that these gifts that we have are truly irreplaceable gifts that we are given that can really stop us from being so anxious and pulling our head out of our behind. That way we can show up for other people and not just worry about us throughout the day. Like I have two small humans that I get to take care of that need me, that God bless me with, that I can put my focus on into what they need and serving them. I have a community now of people that I can show up for and that I can give my real world experiences to that can help someone alleviate their battle with anxiety or their battle with depression and stop being so focused on myself. Like there's so many things that my walk and removal from anxiety from my life has shown me that I am just so grateful for. So I just want us to think about it from that standpoint of it doesn't have to be as difficult as we're making our lives be, right? Like I understand things happen. We've gone through things. We have traumas. Sometimes things just don't work out. We have bad days. We don't get that promotion. We don't get that job. We wake up, or maybe we woke up late. Maybe we are almost fired. Maybe we're on our last strike. Maybe we did get fired. Maybe our parents, we don't talk to them. Maybe we're not close with our siblings. Like things happen, but usually when that buildup happens inside ourselves, it's because we're focused on the outcome for ourselves. And we're usually battling with worst case scenario. Woe is me. This happened. Now I have to deal with this. This challenge came up. Now I have to overcome this. You don't have to do anything. You don't. You don't have to feel like this. When I was in my job that I considered stressful, it was a choice. I had to get over that, honestly. You can argue with me, but I chose to be there day in, day out. I chose to pick up the phone. I chose to overperform. I chose to give energy to what if I get fired? What if they don't like this outcome? What if they don't like this project that I work on? What if they don't see the value in what I just did? I chose those things. But when I started to realize, like, first off, I don't need this anxiety medication. I now have a beautiful child that I'm going to do my best to raise. And I know that if I put something in my body that does not respond well to her, it's going to negatively impact her. So I had to remove myself from the situation and just wanting to put a Band-Aid over my life. And I had to think about what ramifications could this have for my child going forward. Therefore, I don't want it. Okay, I don't want it. So I removed myself from the equation and I put my focus on her. And that created a world where I was able to free myself from focusing on me. I need to get through this day. I need to stop being so anxious with work. I need to show up and prove to these people that I can do XYZ. Like now I'm like, okay, now I have a human inside me that I have to focus on. That turns into another path in life, right? That could create more anxiety, but it also could be a beautiful blessing and create much less anxiety. I chose the fact to work there. So after I got pregnant, I actually asked to stay in that job because I had an amazing team. I was on my way to be a director. I was doing everything that I wanted to do by the book. And again, I had so much anxiety, so much nervousness, so much, like, honestly, just depression some days because I was putting so much focus on myself and the job and performing and the people and the this and the that. And I had to come to the realization that I'm choosing this. I am choosing this. So I got another job. And I didn't manage anyone. And it was just a regular project management job, but I loved it because I didn't have that stress. I didn't have that worry. I didn't have the anxiety that I created for myself. And I was able to focus on me and free up some time and energy. So sometimes I will say our anxiety is something that we choose. We choose to focus on the negative. We choose to look at the worst case scenario. We choose to be in a stressful job, a stressful environment, a stressful relationship, and create that stress within ourselves that we could choose another path. Could it be more stressful? Maybe. Could it be less? Likely. Okay. Chances are, if you're coming from something, you already know what that worst case scenario looks like. You already know what stress looks like. You already know what your body does not tolerate well. You can choose to go somewhere that is more beneficial to you. And I am a firm believer in that, and creating that space for yourself to do the work to say, what would my life look like if I showed up differently today? What would it look like? What if I gave my problems over to God and stopped trying to take them all myself? What if I journaled more? What if I wrote more? What if I put pen to paper and got my emotions out? Because I've never been taught to get my emotions out and dive deeper and ask myself these deep questions like, what is creating this anxiety? Am I truly choosing to show up as the best version of myself today? Am I creating this anxiety? Am I focusing on myself a little bit too much? Have I created a safe space, a safe environment for myself? Or am I too involved in whatever this project is, whatever this next step that I'm trying to take it? Like, what is it that we need to release and show up better as in order to be that best version of ourselves and create less selfishness and less anxiety in our lives? I know a lot of us have probably not asked ourselves that question, and I want you to ask yourself that question today. If you are anxious about something, what is the focus on? Why is it so anxiety inducing for you? What part of your life do you need to release control in order for it to be less anxiety? Like, what are you doing that you can change and shift the focus on that you can have less anxiety on? For me, being the job, I was like, I'm choosing the stressful job. How can I show up, make the same amount of money, if not more, which I did, more money, for less responsibility, less stress, less anxiety, less depression, less sadness? How can I do this? And I knew I could do it. And that's what a lot of us know. We know deep down we can do it, but it is hard for us to show up like that. So I encourage you, dive deeper, ladies, into how you can show up as the best version of yourself with the least amount of stress and anxiety, fear, scarcity, lack, selfishness, whatever it is that comes up for you when you ask that question. Show up as the best version of yourself and ask yourself what that even looks like. Okay? So I will give you a couple more things of how you can do this and how it's going to benefit you to remove the selfishness and how you can just create less anxiety in your life by doing so. So the first thing is breaking the loop. For me, like I said, I will give an example. I know I'm using a lot of work examples just because that was the bane of my existence for years and years. Now it's not, clearly, with me having another job and then starting a business. It's just going so well. I don't have time to be anxious and nervous about anything because everything's going so well. But I will say, back in the day when I had my first job, I was at this place called Lufkin Industries. And I loved Lufkin Industries. It was a small town, small company. It was perfect for my first job. I was doing great. I was performing. Everything was going well. We got bought out by a huge company, GE at the time. When I tell you guys, I freaked out. I freaked out. Every negative thought loop that could come into my mind. What if I get fired? What if they let me go? I've heard about these mergers and acquisitions and how they just lay off the whole company. They replace it with all the new people. Like, my mind was so in survival mode because it was just me, again, focused on me and paying my bills, that I was just like so in a never ending loop. Every day I would show up for work, I'd be so drained, I'd be so nervous. Somebody would say, oh yeah, the GE people are coming. I'm literally freaking out, and for no reason. No reason. I went through every possible negative thought loop and negative scenario, and I ended up getting promoted and put in a rotational program for new emerging leaders with GE. And I got promoted time and time again. Like, it just worked out so perfectly. I created so much stress, so much negativity around this that I didn't even need to have. Not to say worst case scenario couldn't have happened, but what would me worrying about that have done at that time? Nothing. Nothing. It would have done nothing. So I worried, and nothing but good things came from it. So it just goes to show you, if you break that thought loop, if you get out of that negativity and that spiral, you can really transform the way you think, and you can really remove the anxiety from your life, because first off, you worrying about it is not going to do you any good to begin with. Secondly, it could probably be way better than you think. And it could probably be best case scenario, and you're worrying about something that could be worst case scenario, just creating anxiety in yourself time and time again, because you are always so geared and programmed to think the worst is going to happen. So if you need help with this, I also have a resource that can help you, and it's in my link in bio, and it's a thinking guide, like breaking the cycle of negative thinking and overcoming that and replacing the thought, breaking the pattern. Please check it out in the description in my link in bio, because I really do think it's a great resource, because I created it based on me learning how to break those negative thought loops, those negative patterns, and replacing them with much more positive thinking. And so for this one, it just really showed me that, first off, me worrying about something like this is irrelevant. And secondly, there's nothing I can do within my control to change it. If they did want to lay me off, let me go. That's what it is. And I would have to figure it out after that. So me worrying about it was not going to create any different outcome. Okay, so hopefully that is helpful. Please download that resource if it is going to be helpful for you. The second thing I have is do something for someone else. Like, this is something big that I have really had to come to terms with, because again, I was selfish. We all still are selfish to an extent, so that's nothing wrong with it. But if you find yourself being too anxious, being in a cycle of negativity that you can't seem to break and can't seem to get out of, do something for someone else. For me, it's meeting up with a friend for coffee, listening to them, because I also had a problem with listening. I was always trying to think of what I was going to say next, or how that related to me, or how I can interject. And that's not normal. Like, we should not be listening to someone talk and thinking about how it pertains to us and how we can solve that problem for them. It's like, it's not on us. Sometimes we're just there to listen, and sometimes we are just there to hear them out and be there for them. So have more coffee dates, have more dinners with friends. I did start a Bible study. When I tell you, leading people to God, or helping lead people to God, and then sharing those experiences with other people that are going through situations that are, I won't say worse than yours, but different, maybe even more anxiety inducing. People have just been through some things, I will say, and listening to their stories and seeing other strong women, other strong people going through that, overcoming that, and then being able to pray for them in a way that they can't really see or pray for themselves. Like, remove yourself from the equation and give your time to someone else and trying to help them through what they're going through. It is so important, because again, these women that I meet at the Bible studies are incredible, and some of their stories and what they've been through, I'm like, thank you for asking me to pray for you. Thank you for showing up and being this amazing version of yourself, and even with all the things you've been through and overcome. Okay, so a lot of times our anxiety is because we're so focused on me, us, my. And if you remove that and realize like other people are going through other things, then you will show up differently, and you will show up for other people differently. That's the most important part. And let me see. Oh, I did want to say, for me, and I don't know if this is for everyone, I don't, but I will say, again, removing the mask and showing up as my full authentic version, sharing my real world lived experiences with women, not putting a mask on like, oh, these are the 5 steps you should take. And I haven't dealt with any of these. Like, I've never had anxiety, but I'm going to tell you how to fight yours. No, I'm giving you my story. I'm giving you how I was anxious, how I was brought up, the things that were told to me that made me nervous, that made me anxious, that I created that anxiety in myself, the selfishness I experienced that I had to overcome. I'm showing up and I'm teaching women how to overcome that because I've lived it. I don't know if creation is for everyone, but I know that when I show up on YouTube or whatever else the platform is that I decide for that day, and I give my testimony, I try to help, I try to give that information to women or people, that it helps me heal and it removes the selfishness because I'm now trying to actively help someone else go through what I've gone through in an easier way. So for me, writing, journaling, diving deep, asking myself those hard questions is so beneficial because it allows me to get to the root of the problem, but then also sharing my testimony, doing something for this community that tells you I've been through this, I've been where you're at. And chances are probably, I can't share everything with just constraints on time, but chances are I've been through either what you've been through or maybe even a little bit more or maybe less. I don't know. But my thing is I can only share my testimony. I can only share what I think is going to help someone else. But I'm also removing the focus off myself when I teach. And I think teaching is so important. So if you've been through something, you've overcome it, you have removed that block, that challenge, please teach it. When I tell you I go back and I remember so many of the things that I teach, and now I get to show up as that strong, confident version of myself and help someone else, it literally removes so much anxiety because now you're showing up as that person that you are teaching about, that you are trying to embody, that you want to help someone else overcome because you, again, have removed the focus from yourself. You're not worried about likes. You're not worried about comments. You're not worried about when is it going to be my time to shine and get my big break? You're now saying, I'm not anxious worrying about all these things. I'm now just trying to show up better for someone else in hopes that I can help them. I hope that's helpful. I hope that makes sense. But that is something that has really transformed my life, is just by showing up for other people on my coffee dates, on my dinners, for my children, cooking for my husband, showing up for this community, giving my real life experiences and trying to help someone else. I promise you will feel so much less anxious. And when you remove the burden off of, this is my life, I need to control it, I need to show up a certain way, and put it on someone else and how you can help them and focus on them. So hopefully that's helpful. Last thing that I think is the most important thing, though, is that will help you, I will say, stop being so anxious, is decide what you are no longer available for. Fill in the blank. For me, there's usually, I will say, anxiety stems from something deeper. Anxiety can stem from a lot of things. It can stem from nervousness. It can stem from control. It can stem from, I don't know, not getting your way or being told no or, anything. But you usually get anxious because something has happened. For me, one of the things I will say that created a lot of anxiety for me, removing the whole work aspect now, but shame. I'm not available for shame any longer. The people that, they try to take advantage, they try to interject, or I just grew up in a household that was emotionally abusive, emotionally not available. And I had friends that I was attracting that were like that as well, because I was just used to it. But you always have people in your life that are going to make little subtle comments or jabs, try to destroy your confidence, ruin your day, because chances are they're just not feeling confident within themselves. And I placed a lot of internal, I had a lot of internal turmoil because I would let what people said to me affect me. And without getting too far into it, I was a person that I think tried to show up differently for other people. Like I'm a chameleon, I can adapt, and that's not always a good thing, ladies. It's not always a good thing, because you show up for one person in a certain way and then you show up for someone else. You're not being congruent, you're not showing up authentically. And so one person would know me as one thing, another person would know me another way, and they would try to make little comments or jabs. And I think I talked about it on a previous episode, where there would be one group of people I like would go out with and I wouldn't dance, I wouldn't do anything. And another one I would go out and have all the fun. I'd drink too much, I'd dance too much, I'd do all the things. And I say too much, but I wasn't doing anything horrible. I was just having a good time. But it's like you're showing up one way with one group of friends or one person, and then you show up another way with another group of friends, and they're always going to talk. Things will always come out. They will always be revealed. And so people would try to shame me for one way that I showed up, or they would try to talk about me. And I was just hearing little things because of the current level of friends that I had associated with me at that time years ago. Clearly, I have a whole new group of friends, a whole new group of elevated, incredible women that support me in everything that I do, and I support them the same. But we have all gone through that phase of life where we have people in our lives that are not a match. They are not energetically a match. We should have never been friends with them to begin with, or we should have never talked to them or allowed people to talk to us like that. But I said to myself years ago, I am no longer available for your bad day. I am no longer available for your shame, your negativity. That's, again, a mirror, a projection. That is what people are doing. People are not genuinely, typically, trying to ruin your day. They are probably going through something themselves that they haven't all the way worked out, and now they're projecting their negativity onto you. But I would take that so personally, and it created so much anxiety, like me trying to impress this person, me trying to show them that I'm this different version of myself. And it was just not good, because it created, again, a lot of anxiety, a lot of self-centeredness, a lot of focus on, oh my gosh, I need to show up this way to impress this person and do this for myself. And no, I never did, but that's the way I used to think when I was younger. But I am no longer available to show up like that. I show up one way, the Christina way. Okay, I'm no longer available for shame. I'm no longer available for your negativity. I'm no longer available to internalize whatever it is you want to get off your chest that day. I don't care. I will sit there and listen to you if I genuinely feel like we can come to a resolution that makes sense for both of us, but I'm not going to internalize any of it. I'm not going to give myself anxiety because you want to show up a certain way in your day. You're not going to ruin my day anymore. So I wanted to share that with you because I know a lot of times we take on other people's energy. We try to be something for someone else that we don't have to be. We try to show up a certain way, and we don't have to show up like that for everybody. We can show up like us, and that is more than good enough, because when you show up differently than you should be showing up, or than you are as a person, you are creating anxiety. You now have to put on a mask for this person, put on another mask for someone else, put on a mask for yourself at the end of the day. It's exhausting, and all you're doing is creating negativity, frustration, anxiety. And you're doing it from a place of you're worrying how you're perceived, which is a bit selfish, to be honest. That's how I showed up. And that was what I came to a conclusion in my inner work. And I know that some of us will benefit from hearing that. And I will just encourage you, ladies, because I know y'all are lovely. I know that who you are is good enough. You do not have to show up as 10 different versions of yourself to be accepted by anyone. So please don't. So I do hope this was helpful. I don't want it to be too long. I will say that I do have a course that is going to be launching on October 1st, and I hope to see whoever needs it there, and it's called From Survival to Revival. And we are going to be talking about a lot of deep inner work topics during this course, because this is where transformation happens. When we start getting real with ourselves and saying our anxiety is stemming from a focus on ourselves, and how do we remove that and get past it, we're creating a community of beautiful women that are not going to just be focused on surviving anymore. We are going to be thriving. We are going to be our authentic selves. We are going to be showing up fully, and we are not going to be apologetic about it ever. So I have gotten to that space in my life. And I know that if you're watching this and if you sign up for that course, it's a live course. So you will be interacting with me live. And I know that if you sign up, you are literally taking that next step to invest in yourself and be the best version of yourself that you can be, because you're now not making excuses for the way that you used to show up in the past. You're not that old version of yourself anymore. You are completely new and transformed. And just by you listening to this video and then making a decision to accept this course and go on this journey with these beautiful women that are already in the course, you are now transforming your life to say, I am showing up as the best version of myself. I am not focused on just myself. I'm not creating anxiety. I'm not creating negativity. I'm not creating negative thought patterns and thought loops. I am now a new woman. I am thriving. I am not just surviving. I have been revived. And that is what this course is. We are diving deep on all the inner work that not just I've been through and I've worked through myself, but God is going to show us. And we're going to do that from a biblical standpoint. We're going to have so many messages from God. We're going to have so many verses to review. We're going to have so much discussion. It's going to be so rich. I'm so excited because I broke free of survival mode. And I know women, and I have helped them break free of their survival mode too. And this is only one small part of how we can do it, is by removing the selfishness and breaking those anxiety loops. That way we can start showing up and having the awareness of God didn't create us to live like this. He didn't create us to live for other people. He didn't create us to be selfish. He didn't create us to be anxious. He didn't create us that way. So please, again, link in bio. If you are going to sign up on this journey with us, we would love to have you. I'm so excited. This will still be available after the live session. So feel free that if you're watching this at a later date, it will be available for you. And I pray for each and every one of you watching this that you get to a point where you don't have to feel anxious anymore, where you can wake up and say, I am free. I am choosing to focus on something else and not always place the focus on myself. I am choosing to do things for other people. I am choosing not to be available for whatever it is that was making me anxious in the past, because you are so much bigger and so much better than that, sis. Okay. Until next time, I hope this was valuable. Leave me a comment if you have any questions. I would love to help you out. I would love to answer any questions you have on this. And I just pray for you that you will overcome whatever the battle is that you are going through, because you do not deserve to live like that anymore, sis. And you deserve to have a full and abundant life that's focused on other things outside of worst possible outcome, worst possible scenario. Okay. Until next time, bye.